What's up guys, Sheldon back with another review, and today we're looking at the Super Action statue Diver Down from Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6 Stone Ocean on a Sui's stand. So I'll be sure to not do any spoilers this time, and like I did in the Onasui video, so sorry about that. But here's just a quick visual of the Bart, so not the Bart, but the box, and some of the poses you could put Diver Down in. Looks like you're pretty cool, got a lot of options, a lot of flexibility. Some side art here, of course you got that box window, and more like just a pose. And so very quickly though, here is a visual of all the accessories that Diver Down comes with. So, you know, mostly interchangeable hands. You got a display stand, which is pretty standard here. And then you have an interchangeable head. Don't have a different expression because Diver Down doesn't actually have any facial features. But it does go from, I guess, this face to this face. I'm not entirely sure when the design changes, but the artwork does change like mid-arc sometimes, so that's normal. But this is really everything Diver Down comes with. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at the accessories though. Here is Diver Down with the pair of fists. Here is Diver Down with a pair of these bent finger gripping hands. Well, now I'm not entirely sure what the movement is according to the character, but I put a different hand on each side just to show you. The Diver Down does come with a pair for each type of hand, but this one, the fingers are just a little farther apart. This one's a little bit closer, as you can see over here. Let me just turn it for you so you can take a look here. So small difference, and of course here is the back of the hand. Here is Diver Down with a pair of, I would say, maybe blade hands or chopping hands. So something that you might have noticed too is that the hands, or I should say fingers, are kind of stuck together like a fin over here. So that's pretty cool. I think it fits pretty well with his kind of diver, kind of scuba theme. Alright, so he also comes with this piece right here. And this is mostly so you can fit this into Diver Down's back past the tanks, because you can see it protrudes out fairly far to help you connect onto the display stand over here. Diver Down also comes with an instruction manual to tell you the articulation. And of course, Diver Down finally comes with this alternate head that we looked at a second ago. Let's take a closer look right now, though. So overall, pretty nice sculpt. I really love the paint. Very cleanly painted D right here, and these tubes are pretty soft, so they don't get in the way in terms of articulation, which we'll go over in a second. But as you can tell, to switch off the head, pretty standard. You just pop it off, which I would prefer not to. I don't like to do it on camera. Something about popping off the ball joints, but you just pop it off, and then you plug in the, I would say, the tubes right here, and then you're all set. Well, that pretty much does it for the accessories though. Let's go ahead and take a look at the figure itself. Alright, so Diver Down stands about, I have him leaned up against the wall a little bit, looks like just about 6.5 inches to the very top of his antenna, which translates to 17 centimeters, so pretty decent height. Of course, here is Diver Down next to Onasui, so as you can see, a little bit more imposing than Onasui in terms of stature, which is great. Stands should be larger. And then here is Diver Down next to the Storm Collectibles Scorpion, which I will hopefully do a review for soon, and which I really love, by the way. So there you go, just an idea of how big he is and how large he is. Okay, let's move into the articulation. So Diver Down has a pretty standard suite of articulation, as is pretty normal for these figures. Here, let me just scoot over. Alright. So in terms of the articulation in the head, Diver Down has that hinge on the neck, as well as the ball joint at the very top. So here is Diver Down, looking all the way up over here. And as you can see, these pieces are pretty soft, so they don't really impede, I should say. So pretty good. Here's Diver Down looking all the way down, right over here. So not that much, thanks to the sculpt. And then the neck itself is a joint too, so you get a bit of a swivel over here in terms of how far you can turn all the way to the side. You will have to plug it in, as you can see. It does tend to drop out, but in terms of how far you can turn it without it popping out, I would say this much. And as you can see, it does pull back a little bit, but it is a bit of a, I'm willing to kind of give that up for the design though. It's pretty nice. For the shoulders though, as you can see, you have that hinge over here. So it goes out about this far on both sides. The sculpt does get in the way because you have the D here. You have the full rotation, no problem over here. Bicep swivel, pretty good. Double jointed elbows, much greater than 90 degrees, which I love. pegged into the bicep, pegged into the forearm, so you can get some extra rotation at the elbow if you want, both here and here. And then for the wrist, you have that ball peg over here, so you get some swivel right here, and you get some pretty good rotation, and you can kind of move it around to finagle it to get it more. And then for the abs, you have probably just a ball socket and a socket in here. So you get some pretty decent range of motion in terms of swivel, and then you get some swivel over here. Of course, you get some good rotation, sculpt permitting. And then for the hips, standard ball sockets over here, so going out, not that far, pretty typical for this particular line, of course. And then because the hips don't really have anything in the way of sculpt, you get some pretty decent range of motion going. Oh no, I lied. It seems like it would, but there's actually only this much. I'm surprised. And it seems like it's thanks to this part of the sculpt here. Okay, pretty typical problem for a super action statue though. So you do have to bend it out this way before you can make it go up. Okay, so the leg has to go out at an angle, which is pretty unfortunate though. But if you want, you can swivel it at the knee. Well, I'll show you in a second, but for the knee, double jointed, as you can see, really nice range of motion over here. It is pegged into the thigh, so you can swivel at the top of the knee. So, as I was mentioning earlier, if you really want diver down to go up over here, what you can do is rotate the leg out, thanks to the thigh swivel, by the way. And then you can also rotate the knee, being careful not to bump up the knee pad, to kind of get it straight. So it's not the most effective, but it is possible. But leg articulation in the hip, not that great to be honest. And then going back, because the butt sculpt is kind of wide, you don't really get that much. And then for the ankles, you have this much going down, this much going up, so not that much. And then you do have a toe hinge, but it's pretty loose, so you're not going to really get that much use of it to be honest. And then for the ankles, you have about, let's see, not that much of an ankle rocker thanks to the sculpt that comes down here. So that does it for the articulation. Let's go ahead and take a look at the paint and sculpt a little bit. So as you can see, mostly one color. It really does have some nice clean accents throughout in terms of the pink lines. Let me kind of focus for you guys. And then you also have these golden joints here. So in terms of the design, I really do like it. And the paint is this nice pearlescent green. Plus, these scuba tanks are pretty cool. It's a pretty unusual design. So in terms of just appearance, it's definitely a figure that will stand out, like even among the stands in the collection. And then the paint overall, yeah, very clean. I don't have any complaints. It's pretty well executed, and overall it looks like a very nice figure. Proportion-wise, pretty good too. A little bit funny too that the waist is so thin, but it feels like it works pretty well. Again, I might have a little bit of bias because just like I'm a fan of Jojo, so these odd proportions and weird characters are something that I enjoy. Something that I do want to make a note out of though, and this is a pretty common problem for super action statues though, you have the sculpt here. You see how at the joint it comes up a little bit, so what you can run into though is, I don't know what to call this, but the legs do bend forward a little bit sometimes if you get them like at the maximum, like, I don't know, articulation going forward, which is not the best. And the same does happen here. It goes back a little bit. But this type of joint does allow diver down to get a lot of rotation, or not rotation, articulation at the elbow. So overall impression of diver down, I really do like the figure a lot. It's a good looking figure. Articulation in the hip is not so great, but everywhere else is very good. And something that I really value is how easy the figure handles. A lot of the times I'll get a really good figure that has a lot of articulation, looks really great, but when I'm done playing with it, for lack of a better word, it's so like tiring. But diver down feels like it's pretty easy to kind of put into whatever pose. So if you're a fan of diver down, absolutely go for it. If you're just a casual fan of Jojo and thinking about getting into the line, or even just looking for a good figure, I would recommend it because diver down is a pretty nice figure. Of course, if you're going to get diver down, you have to get Anasui, and that is because it is Anasui that comes with the extra effect parts, which I can't find right now for some reason. But you have these effect parts that make it look like diver down is kicking out of the wall. Oh gosh, it was like right next to me. Okay, regardless though, that pretty much does it for this review. You'll see some of the effect parts near the end. But if you enjoyed, feel free to give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe for more. Alright guys, thanks for watching.